Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of The Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaren Wade. Joining me, as always, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt. No last name this week. Hey, Matt. How are you doing?
That still feels real weird, Jaren. The cadence of the intro just feels wrong without the last name.
We'll get there, Matt. We'll get there. We're still in the feeling out process because joining us second time in a row on a more regular basis, Rakush. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. This is a new routine for me every week now, so I need to get used to it.
I know we're cutting into your Monday Night Wrestling time, Rakush, so I thank you for joining us.
I have not watched WWE Raw in years, regularly at least.
You don't get Raw on a Monday night, Rakush?
Hey, man. Hey, yo.
So this is the Mistake Zone, and guys, I think leagues and Duolingo is my mistake for the week. Where, Matt, I know a few weeks ago I told you that with Duolingo, you get put into different leagues based on how much XP you collect throughout the week. And by the end of it, you are either in a promotion zone, you stay in your current league, or you get demoted. And after, I think, 130 days, I made it to Diamond League. And boys, I think the gamification of quote-unquote learning languages, because say what you will about Duolingo, I think the whole league aspect kind of ruins the purity of it. I'm pretty sure I said that a few weeks ago. Now that I'm in Diamond League, I especially think that now, because it's less about me trying to, do lessons at my own pace, and more so, hey, which lessons can I grind out in order for me to maximize my amount of XP gain, on top of the fact that I need to play once in the morning to trigger my XP boost in the evening. Got to play once in the evening to use said XP boost, and then I get my morning boost, and rinse and repeat. And then you have to consider every Saturday you get 1 hour of an additional 5 XP. So you kind of have to, you see what I mean? I'm not thinking about, hey, how do I, properly use grammar in said language. It's, hey, when can I carve out 15 minutes to redo the first kanji lesson, because that takes 10 seconds to earn you 20 XP. And it's kind of awful, you guys.
Jaren, are you learning anything?
I am not at this point.
Yo, bro, he's min-maxing learning a new language.
And when you look at the Diamond League XP scores, where there's no way people are legit gaining over 20k, like in a meaningful way, where you almost start to see that other people are probably doing the same thing, where they're just most likely running the same min-max courses over and over again. And I think for my own sanity, I might drop Duolingo and pick up those Genki exercise books that all the elementary school kids use, because I think that might be a better use of time when it comes to learning languages. So,
see, Jaren, I think your biggest mistake was getting into ranked matches in Duolingo Japanese.
But it kind of forces you into the rank matches where, again, the notion of, hey, you're in the demotion zone is so, I don't know, detrimental to learning to me, where, I don't know, it's odd. And I know you don't have to care about that stuff, and you shouldn't care about that stuff, but I don't know, I find it so weird that a portion of its interface is dedicated to that. And of course you can turn off the social aspects, which removes you from the ranks. So maybe that's also a good way to go about it. But gotta ask you guys, actually I'll ask Rakush you first. what do you think about, as you put it before we started recording, the gamification of these learning tools and services? And do you think they help incentivize learning or are a detriment to it?
So I did 700 days of Duolingo for French. If you ask me how much French I know, I don't know a lot. Like, I know barely enough. I know how to read it at a basic level at this point. But if you ask me to have like a conversation in French after 700 days, no, I don't know how to have a conversation in French. So from first-hand experience, I feel like the gamification doesn't work. But I also have to be aware of the fact that, hey man, we're kind of middle-aged dudes. Like, we learned a different way than like the younger folks have been learning for the last decade plus, right? Like, we graduated 17 years ago, half our lifetime ago, from high school. Laptops were banned, phones were banned from classrooms for us still. I think it was only a couple of years after we graduated where those just became like commonplace. So the way that people are learning is so different now compared to how we used to learn, that I feel like maybe someone more experienced with the gamification of learning might have done a better job in Duolingo. So like, you see these people that are constantly getting promoted in Duolingo, maybe that's what that is, but it did not work for me, man.
Matt, I know we briefly talked about it, but what's kind of your take on learning language games?
I mean, I don't think that they're particularly great. Like, I think the stuff that you learn within the Duolingo courses is valid, but the way that they do it, or the way that they kind of like ingrain that knowledge into you, seems bad. Because, Jaren, I also quit Duolingo because of the, what do you call it, the ranked grind. And I didn't even make it a diamond. I like quit in gold. And I just went back to my good old friend Anki, because I think that's a much better system for building vocabulary.
Also, just to clarify, getting demoted does not change the lessons that you get.
It's just like filler, really.
It just changes how you feel about how you're doing.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. There is something to that as well. Like, the whole acknowledgement of like your hard work, and then being like, no, your 700-day streak, you're still getting demoted. That does suck.
Yeah, I think for me, I've been reading like different comments just when trying to find different resources that I can use just to help learn. And, I do agree with the sentiment that Duolingo makes for a nice toy. It's good for reviewing purposes, I guess, but I think I've gained much more. Thankfully, I have a friend who is half Japanese, and whenever I do have a question about, stuff I'm learning, I'll go to him just for further context and, just how to apply this to basic conversation level. And I think having that surprise, being able to talk, quote unquote, to someone in that language does way more for retention than me repeatedly drawing the kanji for 1, 2, and 3 over and over again for 15 minutes a day. But yeah, I don't know how long I'll continue with Duolingo. It's something. I think that owl's pretty funny. But yeah, maybe I just need to turn off the social aspects of it. But boys, while I'm here hunting words, apparently you guys were hunting some monsters. Matt, tell me about the beta that happened last week in Monster Hunter Wilds.
Oh, Jaren, I put a lot of time into this beta because I felt like it was the best time to mess around with a lot of items.
Right.
And Rakush, you played a little bit. I guess we didn't really like play together. But how much time did you say you put into this?
Literally half an hour.
Oh, I put in just under 12 hours into this beta.
Holy.
Which I realized when I looked at it earlier today is longer than the time I spent playing real-ass games that I've talked about on the Mistake Zone before.
Matt, I think I asked you this previously, but just to review, when's Monster Hunter Wilds scheduled to come out? That's February, correct?
Yeah, February 20-something. I can't remember the exact date off the top of my head right now.
And I'm assuming to have a beta this early, half since it did launch on PlayStation first for, the first couple of days, you would assume that there was some sort of, marketing agreement, additional promotion kind of baked into that.
Yeah.
But for it to be so early compared to release, before we get into the specifics, how much do you think will change based on what you played in comparison to when this releases in a few months?
So Capcom has already said that this is a very old beta. Like a lot of stuff has already changed in the internal tests that they have right now. So yeah, I'm expecting a lot to change, and there are a considerable amount of community complaints or improvements that they want. Of course, the major one being, basically just performance. Because on a performance level, I don't know how it is on the PlayStation side of things, Rakush, but on the PC side, it's been pretty rough for everybody. I think I remember talking before about when Monster Hunter Wilds specs came out, that it was really, really rough looking, and it continues to be kind of rough looking right now.
Could you describe what rough looking means?
Basically, to hit 30 frames per second, I think it's required that you have a 2070 and a pretty decently high CPU. You're going to need a 4070 to hit 60 frames per second with frame generation. So not even natural 60 frames, or not even native 60 frames. You need the assistance of frame generation to hit that with a 4070 tier card, which is...
Again, as someone who's only played mobile Monster Hunter, have these games been that demanding in the past?
I think they usually are pretty demanding for the time that they come out. Monster Hunter World was also, I remember, being pretty demanding. I guess Rise wasn't, because I guess looking at it from the PC side, it was originally a Switch game. And, that's kind of just speaking for the graphical fidelity that game was, planning to have. It had a far more of a cell shady art style. I don't even know if it's right to call it cell shady, but it had more of a art style to it than a realistic style that both World and Wilds are going for.
Right. Yeah, it was more stylized, if I remember.
Yeah, maybe not the best comparison to use, but Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter Wilds feel more anime versus Rise feeling more cartoonish. Which, both are cartoons, but different kinds, I guess.
Yeah, different kinds of cartoons.
Yeah.
But, yeah, even, speaking on just, the technical side, I think the most common one that's also, a pretty good meme in terms of the kind of technical issues is that the build that they released right now has a very notable level of detail issue where... Okay, so Monster Hunter Wilds takes place in kind of an open world, so you can kind of travel around as you want. And an issue that they ran into is if you are moving towards a monster and that monster is also moving towards you, I think maybe something about how they're doing the math, they're reacting to it too slow. So there's a chance that when you arrive at the monster and the monster arrives to you, they are still at a very low poly level. So they arrive to you looking like they're coming from Final Fantasy VII level graphics. And honestly, it's a pretty good meme, and sometimes the level of detail doesn't update, so you're fighting them like that for, I don't know, a good minute or two.
Now that sounds pretty rough.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Again, this is a pretty, as Capcom said, an early beta. You would hope that a lot of adjustments have been made, but performance aside, maybe some of the bummers aside for now, at the very least, Matt, as the resident Monster Hunter, what were some of your positive takeaways from your 12 hours with the beta?
So of that 12 hours, I spent about an hour and a half in character creation because, of course, it is a, very fun character creator. I really like it. You have a lot of customization options there. I think, the wild one that I saw is that you can, have your teeth color and then you can have a separate teeth stain color, which is a parameter I've never seen before in a character creator.
Matt, are you telling me you can give your Monster Hunter grills
I think you can.
I don't know if you can give them you can give them 30 teeth.
I think you can like work around with the
Maybe.
customization to make it look like it's grills.
Because like you can definitely mess with the colors so that they also look flat or shiny to them. So I'm guessing you can give them that look. But
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of douchey looking monster hunters in this game.
honestly, I still think that like my favorite hunter that I came across was just Hatsune Miku, which
Oh, so good, so good.
good name, and they just have the most obnoxious neon hair. And even in the low level of detail, like in the town when everybody's loaded in, you just like see them as like, 4 pixels in the background with just bright blue neon.
Amazing.
And I guess that's actually one thing that I fully missed about all the information in Monster Hunter Wilds, which is the lobby system. I don't know if like you noticed it or not, Rakush, if you only did like half an hour, but the way the lobbies and world seem to be working is kind of similar to, I think, how like Diablo 4 is doing it, where you're just gonna have like basically like a server shard where there's a bunch of people, a 100 player server shard, and then you can just like see people around the towns, and then when you go out into the fighting area, like everybody else will kind of just like disappear. You'll maybe see somebody like run across every so often, but you're not gonna really interact with them until you put out your, SOS flares to call for people, or you pull in, post a quest, and then people can like join your quest, and you can all depart together.
That sounds kind of cool.
It's like a very surprising interaction that I wasn't expecting, and I was like surprised because I thought it was like dropping me fully into a like forced multiplayer thing. So I did spend some time trying to figure out how to leave, but like it is not really like a thing that you need to leave, because it is you being able to like play solo until you decide to pull people in, which is pretty interesting. And I think it's going to be very interesting if this progresses more towards the Monster Hunter World style, where there were in essence like raid battles. And
Yeah.
I feel like with this kind of like 100 player shard sort of thing, it's going to be like really interesting to see how they're going to do that sort of thing.
Now, when it comes to the actual hunts, Matt, so I guess this is in the lineage of the Worlds games as opposed to the Rise games. So I think I asked you this before, but there's no is there a grapple hook equivalent, or
There is no grapple hook equivalent. You still have like a like a grappling hook sort of, but it pulls stuff to you instead of you pulling towards it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's no like grapple hook traversal from what I saw.
So in terms of, I guess, the unique things that Wild brings to with this iteration, what are some of the cool changes that you've gotten your hands on?
So of course the like big thing is that it is open world. The mission system is really kind of different-ish now. It almost works like Payday 2's mission style.
Oh, Matt, you're speaking a certain language that means something to us.
Where you can traverse the open world as you want, and run into monsters organically, or you can zoom out to the map level and you can see monsters walking around, and they are going to have like a monster has its own difficulty, but kind of similar to how the end game of Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak worked. The monsters can also have like a modifier tier to them, where it's an easy version of that monster, a 2-star version of that monster, a 3-star version of that monster, etc. And you can then create a mission for that particular version of the monster, which you can then go to, and then people can join and like organically flow into your world from. And
That's pretty cool.
And I think that's like a very interesting thing. Of course, like the really new mechanic is the focus mode, which enables your focus attacks. And honestly, I think the focus mode is the biggest boon to playing with a mouse and keyboard.
How so?
Previously on the previous versions of Monster Hunter, playing with the mouse and keyboard is a little bit harder because of kind of just how attacking works, as you're kind of locked into a direction. And kind of without a control stick, it is a lot harder to, have as precise aiming when you're kind of doing your attack animations, controlling your camera, and, just generally aiming towards the monster. But, with the addition of focus mode, which is essentially just adding a reticle to you so you can aim where you want to, it feels a lot better on a mouse and keyboard, which is one of the things I really, really wanted to test.
Okay.
Because I remember that when I was playing, older Monster Hunter games, I would play stuff like the bow guns and the bow with the keyboard, and then I would switch to a controller with for the melee weapons. And being able to really well control the melee weapons now with mouse and keyboard feels really, really good, which is a thing I really, really wanted to test during this beta.
Right. Okay.
And apparently, unfortunately for people who play the insect glaive weapon, apparently that is a nightmare to play on the controller now with the addition of focus mode, which is really unfortunate because it's causing you to hold the controller in really weird ways, with claw grips or a really weird grip where you have to hold both joysticks with one hand, like in using like your pinky and your thumb to control them.
Oh, that doesn't seem ideal at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the big things that people are really hoping for that I've seen just kind of online or within YouTube videos is that they're hoping for a lot more control customization.
Okay.
But Rakush, you were playing with the controller. Did you find any issues? Because you were playing. I'm assuming dual blades for
of course
your session.
Yeah, of course. For the little bit that I was playing, it had to be dual blades. I feel like dual blades are fine because you don't need to be aiming as much. But yes, during focus mode, I do know what you're talking about specifically with just aiming and making sure you're targeting the right body part and stuff like that. It does get a little bit tedious. But I didn't find it was all that difficult, at least with dual blades. And it's kind of interesting to hear about your experience on the PC with latency, or not latency issues, but loading up issues and stuff like that. This is the first Monster Hunter game that is being released on PC the same date as the consoles, at least in a long time. So
I think this is the first actual.
Yeah. So I feel like that's also an interesting learning curve for them as well, because they got to figure out how this game runs on something like a PS5 at the same time as figuring out how it's going to run on the PC as well, right? The issue you mentioned about the loading up, to me, I would be extremely surprised if that happens on the PS5 or on the Xbox One as well. I think just on consoles in general, I'd be surprised if that happens, because those are built specifically to have instant load-ins, right? So
yeah,
that's fascinating. I think honestly, I didn't want to play too much of it in the first place because I did not want to get tired of the game. I didn't want to play the same thing over and over again. So the 30 minutes was kind of a sweet spot just to figure out if this game still plays the same way as Monster Hunter World, Monster Hunter Rise. And I think the feel is still kind of identical, so I am still excited for this game. Still not the biggest fan of the aesthetic of just being in a desert, although I don't know if that changes after 30 minutes. So that's maybe the one thing that is going to take a little bit of getting used to for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, they have shown other environments in the trailer, so I think that's probably not going to be too much of an issue. I'm assuming maybe an hour or two after you get through the opening. I'm assuming you'll be able to go to other places pretty quick.
I hope so, because there is a lot of focus on sort of environmental mechanics. So the first scene that you have, gameplay scene, you're basically on I forget what the bird names are called, but
Sacred, I believe.
Yeah, Sacred. You're on one of those, and it's kind of a scripted sequence, which that was something that really caught me off guard with Monster Hunter, because that's not something that my experience with Monster Hunter has had before, right? So the fact that it starts off with this very scripted experience, and then it's basically shooting like, you know, something towards like certain parts of the map to make sure that like you're interrupting the sandworms and stuff like that. So yeah, I like that was very surprising. I hope it doesn't mean that like, you know, the desert maps are like the big focus of it. Simply from an aesthetic standpoint, gameplay standpoint, it could still be nice, but we'll see. I'm still gonna get this game on release date.
Yeah, same. I mean, I already pre-ordered it, but
Right, yeah, and it does have cross compatibility, right? So like,
yes, it does. It does.
okay, cool.
Okay, so the friends or like playing with other people that you don't immediately have is a very confusing system, because I was trying to play this with somebody else on Steam, and I guess like with the cross compatibility, you know, they can't just do a direct, hey, invite this person directly from your friends list. You need to go to like some really convoluted way of, hey, invite this person to a session, and then from the session, you guys can go into your own instance of the game, which is very confusing if you don't understand how that system works.
Matt, you mean to tell me a Japanese video game has a convoluted multiplayer system?
It's gonna be very shocking.
I don't
to
believe it. Yeah, it's shocking. Can't
I
believe it.
So what's your friend's code, you guys?
Yeah, they just kind of work off like hunter IDs, which is kind of weird. But I don't know. I spent a lot of time in this game this demo, just because I wanted to experience all the monsters, and like I was saying, kind of at the top, I felt the best time to play all these all the different weapons that I could, because an issue I guess that happens in real Monster Hunter when you are thinking, hey, I want to go try out like all these weapons, is that you go up a couple tiers in the tree, and then you want to go try a different weapon, but now you have to go grind mats to get back up to like that kind of tier. And since there was no weapon crafting in this demo,
Yeah.
it gave like a very good reason in my head at least to be like, okay, this is the ideal time to iterate between them, because I'm not going to need to grind for new weapons or items or materials to build like new weapons, new armor sets and everything. They also give you like, I guess, like 4 armor sets. But yeah, like going through the weapons was like really fun, especially for the kind of newer weapons. And I honestly still don't really know where I'm landing in terms of what I'm going to play on actual release.
That's fair. And I gotta suspect they're gonna have one more open beta test as well. There's still, 4 months left before the game releases?
Yeah, usually for the Monster Hunter games, they will have a kind of like fixed mission style beta, which I guess is going to be different here, but where it's like, oh, you're going to have like these weapons with these armor sets, and you're going to go fight like this monster.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the next beta goes, right? Like if they have a newer build of the beta that they want to showcase and stuff like that. I am also curious to see how the PC version does on release, because everything you're saying makes it sound like it could be rough even during release. So yeah,
like it is runnable. Like I think it's runnable. Like that's the thing. I think the issue is more so on the graphics side, which I personally don't have. It being kind of like weak graphically for me has never really been an issue for me. But I know that it is an issue for a lot of people, so I do actually hope that that does get fixed.
Yeah, and I think part of that is just dependent on the studio, right? Like, are they putting an emphasis on graphics? Because if they are, then I think it's fair to hold them against it if the graphics aren't good. Yeah. So I think that's kind of where it's going to be. But yeah, the only last thing I'll mention about the open beta, what that really was jarring for me, is your character being voice acted.
I mean, they're always voiced, aren't they?
No.
Oh, you mean
Rise
like in the actual cutscenes?
In the cutscenes,
yeah. Okay, yeah.
Like, I'm not talking about the grunts. I'm talking about like a full-on conversation. Like,
yeah,
it's like Link having a conversation levels of like, wow, this is jarring.
Honestly, the thing that bothered me more is that the cats could talk English, so I turned that off.
Wait, can the cat? I didn't get that far. All I got to was like the cat's going like, yeah.
Yeah, the cats speak in like a real voice, which I don't like. Which I switch down to normal cat noises. But
why are you dehumanizing cats, man?
I don't know. I don't like it. They need to stay where they are. They need to stay in their lane.
Specious.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to like the full Monster Hunter Wilds, all the weapons that I tried were also really fun. Dual Blades is ridiculous, Rakush. I don't know like how much you were able to play around with its focus attack, but that focus attack is disgustingly good.
It's got an auto lock focus attack. That's gonna be my go-to. Like, yeah, I'm not even gonna bother trying new weapons out. I don't think.
I love that like there was, okay, so you know how like the Dual Blades like focus attack is basically you stab them in the face and then you bounce off and you kind of like Levi spin down their spine, right?
Yeah.
And from the jump off to the Levi spin, there is basically like a hard lock. Like from that point on, you cannot be interrupted. And the clips that I've seen of people, starting that attack, but the monster fleeing from the scene and them just flying across the map to follow them is amazing.
Dude, that's getting buffed, or that's getting nerfed. That's getting nerfed so fast. It's getting nerfed so fast, dude. I'm gonna enjoy it while I can, but there's no chance that's gonna hang around for the long run.
I think it's gonna be around for
if
the
it
long
is,
run. Like
I am
that
super
was a
excited.
move that they had in their promo video, so I feel like you can't take that away from them.
If it is, I am super excited. That's all. Jaren, anything that we've said make you want to play Monster Hunter?
No, not really.
Yeah, I feel like Monster Hunter is a very divisive game in terms of like whether you're gonna find it fun or not.
Yeah, I do think there is a certain element of the game where like I would not play it by myself. I do think it is a fun co-op game. So yeah, like maybe that's what I would use to convince Jaren to try it out. But I think you're right. Ultimately, like it is a very niche kind of co-op game.
But kind of like every other Monster Hunter game, now is the best time to get in because they've made it so much more, user friendly. And, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Not 12 hours. Probably the first of many when this finally comes out again this February. So since you went through all your impressions, one final question. Was there anything that just surprised you about the beta that you weren't expecting but you enjoyed for either the better or even for the worse?
Okay. The kind of like big monster in the beta is Raydao, which is kind of like this electric dragon in essence. I thought that this monster looked really, really cool. I love its design and everything, but I hate the way that this monster sounds. Because I think when they design monsters in Monster Hunter, they try to, add realism to them instead of making them, use electricity through magic, right? Or something equivalent. And the way that they kind of are doing it for Raydao is that it is, I guess, like organically metallic in some parts. And the sounds that it makes my body cringe. It's, for me, like tin cans against a chalkboard or something.
Matt, as someone who gets a lot of retro Canadian commercials, like that one of the kids saying, and here's a T-Rex, and makes a T-Rex noise, I was totally expecting you to mimic the sounds with your voice.
Oh, man, no. Raydao makes bad noises, and I am going to try to fight it as little as I can.
Fair enough, Matt. Fair enough. So
I'm going to look this up after this episode's done, because I am curious what this sounds like.
So Monster Hunter Wilds beta concluded, but hopefully another one coming within the next few months, and the game coming out this February as well. But a game that is currently out right now that I've been playing, putting in more time than I probably should have, is a new indie release called Karate Survivors. And stop me if you've heard this before, friends. It's a bullet heaven of sorts within that Survivor, light vein at this point, where you're not hunting vampires. I know the Vampire Survivors Ode to Castlevania DLC just came out as well, so I still have to sink my teeth into that just to see if there really are vampires in the game finally. But with Karate Survivors, when I played the demo a few weeks ago during Steam Next Fest, but since it was coming out so close to the demo, I thought I would just save it for full release. And when I first played this game, and thought about sharing it on the Mistake Zone, I immediately had this feeling of this is definitely within Rakush's wheelhouse, because aesthetically this takes after 80s martial arts films. It's heavily inspired by that aesthetic, where similar to the genre, you're a dude who is fighting hordes of, these typical 80s antagonists, just filler enemies through various locales, including a supermarket, a bar, a construction site, a subway. And throughout the game, you level up, you collect money as your XP, you collect teeth as your meta progression currency. And I think the thing that really separates it from what you kind of expect from the genre is how the combat plays out, where in Karate Survivors, the weapons you essentially pick up are different martial arts moves. Like, you'll have your jabs, your uppercuts, your sweep attacks, your roundhouse kicks, and you essentially can equip up to 7 in your action bar. And when your character attacks, he'll go through the moves that you've set to your action bar automatically. And once your combo is done, it goes on a few second cooldown. So unlike, Vampire Survivors, where you're on the aggressive at all times, there is an element of strategy here where, okay, my character is about to be on cooldown. How do I defend? How do I maneuver through the environment until I can start up my attacks all over again? And then, of course,
you got to think while playing this game.
Yeah, unfortunately you do. But as you level up and unlock more abilities, you start to be able to play around with the environment more, where not only in the beginning it's pretty bare bone, but as you unlock more abilities and more passives, soon you'll be able to interact with the environment. You can throw weapons, you can use weapons, you can vault over ledges, you can kick bigger objects into people. So once you start, getting towards that early mid game, you'll start to have it flow a lot better. Some things that kind of are a bummer is in the moves themselves, where so far there are 3 different types of moves, essentially red moves, blue moves, and yellow moves. I think yellow moves are more like, that's where you'll get like the drunken style fighting, where with the red and blue ones, they're just kind of arbitrary at that point why they're separated to these different colors. And the reason I bring that up is essentially you're forced to build into those move sets, where if you link a red move and then have a red move right after, they'll go together and then you'll get additional combo damage, where essentially you want to have 7 of the same moves so you have the maximum amount of combo damage, which unfortunately means you're kind of locked into one move set per run. And if you unfortunately don't roll a proper move within that set, then you're leaving damage off the table, which is also kind of a bummer. But once you kind of get used to its flow, I think it's a really unique experience within the genre itself. Takes a bit to get used to. There is a difficulty curve, so you're not necessarily being able to steamroll everything, but once you have a bit more of the arsenal it provides you, it is definitely something that is a lot more enjoyable, where similar to Vampire Survivors, the launch price was, I believe, around $5.50 Canadian with 10% off because of the launch period. So if you're a fan of the aesthetic, if you're a fan of, the genre, it's definitely worth a look at. I know it's a small dev team. I did run into one bug in my 6 hours of playing that was really kind of game breaking at that moment, where when I picked a new move, it wouldn't actually let me equip it to the hotbar. So whenever I picked a move, it was essentially a broken turn. So hopefully that's only happened once in the 6 hours, but hopefully something like that gets patched. The devs seem to be actively working on the game still. They just added some new difficulty levels, but check it out if that is something that sounds up your alley. Based on that, any interest in Karate Survivors, friends?
Okay, so I'm looking at gameplay of this game, Jaren.
Yes.
And how is this game or no, how long does like a round in this game last? Because like I'm just looking at legally distinct Jackie Chan,
Yep.
kind of like doing Rumble in the Bronx stuff, and like the two things that I'm really thinking about, mostly because of the Jackie Chan influence, is one, how long does it last for? Because a very distinct part of this trailer that I'm watching, of the official launch trailer for Karate Survivor, is the environmental stuff that you're talking about. And it appears like the stuff that he's interacting with doesn't reset. So I'm just wondering, like, I guess also how big are the levels that you're working in? And how long are you in these levels for?
So right now there are only 5 levels in the game, and so essentially for a level you start off in the supermarket, and your main goal is you have to survive for 15 minutes before the boss spawns, and then once you get to the bar you have to survive for 17 minutes, and then once you get to the construction yard you have to survive, I believe, for 18 or 20 minutes. So I think it's within, depending on which level, you're looking at the least 15 minutes to complete the initial 15 to, let's say, 25 to complete the initial quest. But then once you hit that threshold, a boss spawns, and then you have to fight the boss, which will, not gonna lie, since I'm still within that mid-game, boss fights take usually around 7 minutes, so it's kind of within that vampire, like Hollow Key or Vampire Survivor playtime of a run will be around 20-25 minutes. And in terms of, so with the levels, they are generated a bit, so there's no basic layout. So stuff will, like, you'll have 2 safe houses which have a healing item and a level up crate and a gun that you can use. So those are appearance, but for the most part they are pretty sizable. But you do have a lot of opportunities to play around with the environment, where when I eventually get to the boss, I still have a few things I can still interact with to help with that fight.
I'm watching like a quick let's play of this right now. Gotta say, really impressive hair mechanics on the Jackie Chan character.
The not legally Jackie Chan character, but
the not legally Jackie Chan character. Yes.
Huge Rumble in the Bronx energy. A lot of unlockables as well. I have a friend playing it. They're also running into some issues where he feels like he's done the things to unlock certain moves, but they haven't been unlocking. So yeah, it is still being worked on, but for the entry price right now, I still think it's an enjoyable time. But hopefully some of the bugs are addressed, and moving forward, I'm curious just to see how much gets added to the game, because there's only one character, only 5 levels, and I'm curious to see if any more levels get added, any new characters, and even more fight styles get added as well. But
remind me, is this game currently in alpha or beta or something like that? Like, it's pre-release, right?
I believe it is a full release, but I guess I can go into the store page right now, and nope, it just says buy Karate Survivors introductory offer, ends November 13th. Also, what I do appreciate is there are some bonus objectives as well that spawn around. Sometimes you'll find a character that you have to chase. you have to defend an area, you have to collect vinyl CD or vinyl records. So little things to help, spice up your runs. But for the most part, you're doing survivor stuff with the karate aesthetic.
I would just be collecting the vinyls. I wouldn't even be playing the game.
Fair enough. Rakush.
You are right. This is a Rakush kind of game.
Fair enough. But yeah, that is Karate Survivors, available now on Steam. Not sure if it's on anything else. But another thing I checked out this week, guys, I think it's something we've all checked out, where you guys went from hunting monsters, I went from surviving karate to collecting pocket monsters. Guys, new Pokemon dropped on mobile devices, officially, at least in North America. I know if you were in Australia, it's soft launch, I believe, a month ago. But since we've all been ripping packs digitally at the very least, I was wondering, how are you guys feeling about the Pokemon TCG Pocket game?
The ranked matchmaking sucks, dude. Or the PvP. It's not even ranked. It's just PvP. It sucks.
You not like the Mewtwo's that you're running into, Rakush?
Where do we want to start with this conversation? Because I don't know if it's the best starting point to explain what this game is.
When this initially was this was revealed, I think earlier this year in a Nintendo Direct, and this was essentially, I believe, Nintendo, the Pokemon Company, and DNA's take on the trading card game. Just because, of course, there is a online version that is one-to-one to the TCG, but this is a more, mobile-friendly and streamlined rush-based game where primarily you are collecting cards, and then you can have I wouldn't say simplified, but less intense version of the trading card game experience. So it's divided into collecting and battles. And I'll admit it, friends, I still haven't finished the tutorial for the battle system yet. I've just been ripping packs and kind of re-rolling to get a slightly rarer card. But in terms of the collection aspect, before we get into the ranked battles, how are you guys feeling about just that portion of the quote-unquote game?
I mean, personally, I like the collection stuff. I think they're doing like a very good job of, dripping you stuff and the kind of aesthetics of, I guess, the overall presentation of the pack opening experience. And I I don't like that in the patch that was released today, as of this recording, they took away my vent packs.
Is that confirmed, or is that just kind of
they're much rarer. I have as I do, I also have been, rolling multiple accounts to get the cards that I want. And after the patch, I think like every single time prior to the patch, I would have a bent pack that I could, find and open. But now
describe what the bent pack is.
Okay, the bent pack is basically when you are, in this game, you're able to choose a pack and open it. The packs are kind of like, on this kind of carousel, and you're able to have the illusion of choice of what you're going to pick. And one of the copiums that I'm using right now, or I guess was using, still also using, is that some packs are going to be slightly bent at the top. And, in my head, I have been convinced that these packs have better cards in them. Because...
And it's not just you. It's not just you. Like, this is something that, like... from what I saw was on Japanese Twitter, someone already was kind of like hypothesizing about this stuff. So we tried it based on that. And there is something to it.
I don't know if there's something... Okay, I believe that there's something to it. I don't know that there's something to it. But
I think it's at least an indicator. I think it's at least an indicator that you're getting a card, even if like the carousel, whatever you pick from it, you might get a rare card from one of like the uncreased packs. But I do think it's an indicator of something, because why else would it be there?
I honestly think it might have just been random. But the fact is that after the patch, they appear less. I would get at least one bent pack every single carousel, and now I'm not guaranteed one, and it hurts my heart because I don't know. I was emotionally attached to this thing, and they've taken it away from me, and now the opening pack experience is less engaging for me.
It's lost its mystique.
And also, I have switched. I also found out that if you pull a card from Wonder Pick, and it is somebody who is in a different region than you, and they have their language set differently, it pulls in that language.
Yes.
So I switched all my extra accounts to Japanese, so that whenever I Wonder Pick from them, I can Wonder Pick a Japanese card.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Actually, I wanted to ask you guys about the Wonder Pick system, because with the Wonder Pick system, this allows you to look at your friends or random players' most recent pack opens, and then you can pay a separate currency to essentially pick at random one of the cards from that pack. And have to ask you guys, when you're Wonder Picking, do you have a same spot or do you pick at random?
I do same spot.
I always go random.
Oh,
Because it depends on where the rare card is.
Matt?
Right? Like, if the rare card is the 5th card or if it's the 1st card, to me, those are different spots to check out.
So you're going for wherever the rare part is, Rakush.
I go off vibes, man.
Okay.
Honestly, like, I go off vibes. And I've picked up some good EX cards from it. I picked up a Marowak EX. I picked up an Articuno EX. These are all Wonder Picks. So, like, I've done decent with just vibes.
Matt?
Oh, man.
What's your spot?
I go for the bottom right all the time.
Oh, you're a bottom right boy, Matt?
I'm bottom right.
I'm also a bottom right boy.
The one time I veered away from bottom right, I missed out on an EX.
Yep.
I'm not going to do that again. Because I have to go and be like, okay, at least if I always pick the one that's in this area, I will never feel bad about deviating away.
The one time I went for top middle, it was bottom right, and never again, Matt. Never again.
Yep. Oh, I also went for top middle when I did my bad pick.
But so the collection aspect is there, and to what Rakush mentioned when we started talking, there is the battle portion. Again, not as mechanic heavy as the actual Pokemon TCG game. This is a more, I guess, streamlined, more fast-paced version, but you guys have more experience with it. We have Rakush's initial thoughts. Matt, how are you feeling about the battle system?
I mean, I like the battle system. I like the change of going from energy cards to the thing, like the energy per turn. I think that's like an interesting change. Of course, that like actually goes with the huge like deck size decrease from, I believe it's 60 in standard Pokemon, right?
I was going to say 40, but I'm pretty sure that's the recommended for Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Hearthstone. Either or.
But like, yeah, it's down to 20 from whatever it is in the actual game. And it really does speed things up. I do wish that it was 4 points instead of 3 points for how many points worth of Pokemon you need to remove, especially with like the prevalence of EX.
Right,
but I
right.
guess that's the risk of using EX. But yeah, like I think it's like the game itself, I think, is like basically exactly the same. I still think like it's a interesting like system, and it really gets away with snowballing in terms of like getting a good setup. But it is still the Pokemon trading card game. It makes me wish that there was an real new version of the Pokemon trading card Game Boy Color game.
Yes.
To actually play, because I don't know, it's giving me an itch to like really actually build a deck in this system.
Fair. How about you, Rakush? Kind of any expanded thoughts on the battle system?
I think they really need to fix the PvP stuff, man, because right now You pick what level of PvP you're actually playing, and beginner, so on and so on. I don't actually know what the others are because I thought I was a beginner. It turns out everybody thinks they're a beginner, so everyone's just picking beginner, and that includes all these Mewtwo decks and stuff as well. So the first PvP game I actually played had two Mewtwo EXs, the rare one and the super rare one. And I was like, dude, like, I'm gonna get my butt kicked. And it's just been that. Like, the game meta is terrible, and it reminded me why I hate playing trading card games in the first place, because the moment you get into game meta stuff with trading card games, it kind of takes the fun away from the collecting aspect of things. And that's the part where, like, I'm kind of dropping off this game just a tad bit. But yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. In terms of, are you incentivized to do it? Like, do you get that much more rewards by doing it? Or is it just something that you could skip if you weren't feeling it?
The PvP?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of at a point now where I'm not getting any of the hourglasses. So I'm not actually able to pull as many card packs. So I'm trying to play some PvP because I believe it helps you rank up and then, like, you know, unlock more hourglasses and stuff like that. So that's why I jumped into PvP stuff, because outside of that, there was literally nothing else for me to do in the game. So
Fair.
I kind of wanted it to work, but I'm just not having fun with that part. And, like, I thought I had good decks. Like, I thought I had some good cards and everything. And, yeah, like, you quickly find out, no, you don't, and it sucks.
So I have two Mewtwo X cards. Should I be playing a Mewtwo deck, is what
Yes.
you're saying?
Yeah.
You'll need Gardevoirs if you want to do that.
I have one of
you
those.
you can still play it without a Gardevoir.
Gardevoir is like the kind of like power piece in that, though, right?
I have a Gengar X, and I like him because I like a Gengar.
Yeah, Sam.
But
I
yeah,
tried to pull on your Gengar pack, and
Yeah.
I missed the Gengar.
was it bottom right?
It wasn't bottom right.
Ah,
See,
But-
should have gone different.
What if I picked somewhere else and it was bottom right, though, Rakush? What that? Then I'm the dumbass.
Do you guys, like, actually want to know where the cards are? Because sometimes I just want to skip that part. Like, if I miss it.
Yeah, no, I don't want to know anything.
yeah. If you miss, you miss. But that's not how mobile game psychology works, friends.
You just kind of gotta, yeah, man.
Actually, I guess like while we're on the Wonder Pick stuff, I feel like the Wonder Pick generates so slowly.
Yes.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys feel that as well. I don't know.
It does, and it does actually kind of incentivize you to add more people, but that also means having to reach out to more people, which I don't want to do.
Yeah, I could just add you on my multiple account.
Sure, yeah.
Fair.
You have my friend ID.
Yeah, I'm still re-rolling a second one on my iOS, just so I can feel good about that one. But I got to switch it to, what's it called? Japanese, so I can get those sweet Japanese cards.
These guys.
But yeah, Pokemon TCG Pocket or whatever it's called, available now. It's a collecting game, so
Yeah.
we'll collect.
One
up?
more thing about the Japanese cards. When you collect them, they'll be in Japanese, but when you put them into your decks and you're playing them actually like in the playing, portion of the game, it'll show to you as English, so you know what's going on with the card.
Okay.
So you're saying you should get the Japanese cards?
Get the Japanese ones because apparently they're actually counted differently than the English ones. If you want to go that deep into collecting,
Wait, seriously?
yeah, all the cards have like just multiple languages. Like you can collect the card in like English, French, Japanese, Chinese. I can't remember what other languages are in there, but you are able to kind of like they are tracked separately from your other cards.
Interesting.
That is cool. You know what else is cool?
What's that, Jaren?
Episode 5 of Dandadan, our weekly Dandadan check-in. And to go through it really quickly, this was in contrast to the Turbo Granny arc that concluded last week, this was, I would say, the first, really slow and more romance-based episode, which really explores the dynamic of Momo and Ken in their school life and actually being able to see how much each other's company means to, each of them, where you have that classic, since they're in a separate classroom, they're trying to find each other at lunch, and that leads into some hijinks. I think one of my favorite parts of the episode, even though it was showing our boy Ken getting, a bit dogged on by Momo, was just that classroom scene after the misunderstanding in the school courtyard, where all of Momo's friends in her class was kind of just asking what the deal between her relationship and with Ken is, and essentially them going to bat for Ken in asking why she was being really harsh towards him. But overall, I enjoyed the episode personally, maybe just because that's more so in the slice of life wheelhouse that I'm used to. At the end, we did get reintroduced to Turbo Granny and her cat form, but ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. But overall, I think it, without any action parts, it holds its own as a slice of life episode. But I guess for the people who have become fans because of the shonen aspect, might have been a letdown in that respect. But Rakush, did you have any thoughts on episode 5?
Yeah, just the same stuff from last week. Like, they're capturing all of the moments pretty nicely. I think they've shown they can capture the action really nicely, and they're now showing that they can catch kind of like the quieter moments, the more emotional stuff nicely as well. So, yeah, still good stuff so far. And I'm actually kind of curious where they're going to end the season on, because I'm assuming it's 12 episodes. I don't know if there's like a clear season finale that they can end it on.
Based on your, familiarity with the manga, is there a point you think would be a good place to end off a season?
I don't. That's the thing I'm kind of struggling with. And also, like, there's a couple of arcs in the middle that I can't fully remember.
Right.
So that's also kind of, like, adding to it.
Okay.
This mid-late senility of mine right now, but yeah.
Fair enough. Well, weekly Dandadan check-in, more on that next week. But even though we're approaching Beefy Boy territory, Rakush, there was another program that you watched last week. Rakush, what's up with the Yakuza series on Amazon Prime? It's on Prime, correct?
Yeah, it's a live-action series on Amazon Prime. 6 episodes, 6 or 8 episodes. Honestly, a very quick watch. Low commitment as well, all things considered. Okay, Matt, you've watched this as well. How would you describe the story itself? The show focuses on, obviously Cosmic Curie is there. You have him with a group of other folks as well. There's kind of like an origin story of sorts happening here. It skips between 2 eras for a little bit.
Yeah, 95 and 2005, I think.
Yeah. And then after the first couple of episodes, it's just kind of one, it's 2005. It still goes back a little bit, but yeah. It's interesting. It was I think it was decent. I think it missed some opportunities, and I think it was lacking in some areas quite a bit, in a way that I think ultimately made it just an okay show for me. So
yeah,
I haven't played a lot of Yakuza, but the little bit that I have played, or the games that I've played, one of the things that always stood out to me is how alive the actual area feels, like the neighborhood feels, Kamurocho feels. The issue with this one here is I never got that feeling. It just kind of felt like they were jumping from location to location without much thought or attention being given to why this area is so important as well. So the characters were fine, but I feel like their biggest miss was the fact that Kamurocho just did not feel as alive or vibrant as the games made it feel. Also kind of feel like they missed the mark with Goro Majima. I think that's the one where I wish they had done a little bit differently.
I mean, I guess I've also I've never really seriously played any of the Yakuza games. It's really just been, hey, cousin has it open. I'm gonna dick around in this for a bit. That's as deep as I go. and the stuff that Jaren talks about when he is talking about anything in this series. But I think for me the biggest issue is like I kind of agree with the Kimura Cho thing. I feel like this is the type of show that expects you to kind of have an understanding of the game and the kind of like culture going into it. And I don't know if that's maybe just a problem that I ran into because of the dub. Because when I loaded it up on Amazon, it started playing in English. And I was like, oh, this is wild. It actually really added to the like campiness in my head that I kind of associate Yakuza with.
You can change the language in the
Oh, no. I changed it. Like, I decided to watch it in the, in English dub for the first episode because honestly, the English dub cast is, the usual suspects of, what do you call it? It's like, oh, yeah, it's Alex Lee, it's Johnny Young Bosch, it's Matthew Mercer, right? Like, they're all there doing their thing. And kind of just hearing it that way kind of made it in my head feel more of a video game to me. And then like for episode 2, I switched it to Japanese, and I ended up kind of just alternating episodes in terms of what language I was watching it in.
You alternated like one to the next to the next. You didn't find that was jarring?
Not really. To be honest, I kind of liked it a lot more in English because it was a lot funnier to me.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I think it's just maybe I don't know if it's just an issue with, or not issue, but like a thing with dubs. But it made it feel more like I was watching a video game show than a real show to me.
I think yeah. You might have just hit on something interesting as well there, where it's like, this is not a video game that took itself seriously. It was serious characters in hilarious situations, yes, right? Like, Kiryu always had a straight face on when he was doing, like, hilarious things. The show is just serious people doing serious things. Like, it didn't have the humor in it. It didn't really have the campiness in it, which I do understand. Like, you're not always going to get that. And I do understand that with, like, live action stuff, sometimes you have to take those liberties to appeal to a wider audience. But I feel like then at its core, it's lost out on the things that make it Yakuza.
Yeah. Like, I do think that, like, just some explanation would have gone a long way in terms of just, like, stuff. Because especially in the dub, it kind of does that thing where they use Japanese words.
Oh, God.
Instead of, English words. I think, like, the big jarring one at first for me was like, like the oyagoroshi type thing.
Yeah.
Like they use that word, but I don't know if maybe I just missed what they were saying, but it took me a while to realize what they were saying. And I feel like I only realized what was going on because of my understanding of Japanese.
To be honest, man, I don't think it actually is explained in the Japanese either.
Okay. Yeah. Like, I guess for like people who are also curious about this going in, oyagoroshi means patricide. I feel like if I didn't know that, like, by the second episode, I would have been very confused on why everybody is so mad at Kiryu for the whole thing.
They were just mad because you looked really cool,
Okay. I also doubly couldn't take Kiryu seriously in this role because this actor used to be a Kamen Rider, and I kind of just associated to that. So that's that was also throwing me off a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like this show kind of missed a lot of opportunities. I think it tried to go for a wider audience with what it was like the story was trying to tell, but I don't think it went all the way in that direction with the quality of the writing. So you lose that audience. But then they went far enough away from what like diehard Yakuza fans are looking for that you don't even have that audience. So it's like a show without a fan base almost. And it just kind of exists in this. It just exists. And I think like, I mean, I've talked about this on the show before. Like, if you give me good, of course, like I'll enjoy it. If you give me bad, I'll also enjoy bad because there's something memorable about bad. But if you give me mediocre, that's where things get a little bit more disappointing for me, right? And like, this is mediocre. It's a bummer.
Yeah.
I actually was like kind of looking forward to like this series because it's very rare that you get series like these turned into live action. But Yeah, it just doesn't seem to me like they hit the mark on it. One thing I did find cool though is the opening animation. The intro had a dragon holding what looked like a basketball, and I thought it was just gonna start playing basketball in the intro for a second.
That would have been a good goof.
It would have been a
Just
great
dunks.
goof. Yeah, it's a dragon with a ball.
Amazing. Well,
Yes,
that's Yakuza on Amazon Prime now, I believe. But one last question. Was there any truth to the discourse that I saw that this originally didn't start as a Yakuza, like the Yakuza we know, TV adaptation, but it turned into that through like during production? Or was that something you guys heard as well?
I never heard that, but I can definitely see that because I don't know if you felt this way, Rakush, but one thing that really stood out to me is that I looked up the the ages of the characters or the actors playing the characters, and they are correct ages to be playing the 2005 versions of these characters. But I felt like they just looked either too young or too not hardened for the future half of the show.
Okay, so I am avoiding online discourse for this show mainly because I've seen a little bit of it in passing, and it just sounds like your typical toxic, video game-esque discourse that I just don't want to see nowadays. So, do I know about this rumor? No. I would be surprised if they tried to shoehorn Yakuza into another series, because there are enough things here that make it seem like it is still a Yakuza series, if it makes sense. Like, I just don't think they went all the way with it, but I do see enough stuff that makes it seem like there is enough references here, but yeah.
All right. Well, Yakuza, stream it now on Amazon Prime if that's something you're into, or just play the Yakuza games. They're pretty fun as well. My dog's shaking in the background. Not sure if that's picked up, but boys, this has been a beefy episode. But as is our new tradition here on the Mistake Zone, we can't end off the episode without a Don't Match Me challenge. And this week, I'm bringing the challenge to you all, where, just to go through it again, the Don't Match Me challenge is pretty simple. We're going to go through 5 questions, 5 categories, where all you have to do is come up with an answer that doesn't match my own answer. And if you want a extra hard version, try not to match Matt and Rakush's answer as well. Plus, if you have a question that you might be unfamiliar with, feel free to pause this audio diary of ours, find an answer, and see if your newly found answer doesn't match ours. But anyway, at the top of the episode, or at least towards the start of the episode, Matt and Rakush explored some Monster Hunter Wild, so I thought for this week's Don't Match Me challenge, we'll explore some hunters, and starting off with the first category, the first question, name any video game bounty hunter.
Ooh, this will be tough.
So name any video game bounty hunter in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I went with Bridget from Guilty Gear.
I went with Samus because that's the only one I could think of.
Interesting.
Fair.
That's a good one. I'm going with John Marston.
Good answer as well. Good answer as well. Now, we briefly touched on the anime corner during our Dandadan segment. So, name a Hunter x Hunter pro hunter. Don't worry, there's a fandom wiki that will tell you who the pro hunters are. So, all you have to do is name a Hunter x Hunter pro hunter.
Okay. This one took some digging in my brain there, but okay.
All right. So, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I went with Knucklebine.
Ooh.
Who?
It's the dude with like the not Pompadour, the angel, the dude with the tax ability, right?
I think so. I don't know anything about Hunter x Hunter. I do know about Google, however.
Oh man.
Okay.
I hate that guy's power.
Matt, who did you go with?
I went with Killua, by the way. I went with Killua.
Rakush, who did you go with?
I'm going with Jing Freaks.
All right.
Man.
Number 3, there's a game that has a special place in our heart, at least me and Matt's hearts. Rakush, I'm maybe your heart as well. where there's a specific class in World of Warcraft called the Hunter. So all you have to do is name a World of Warcraft hunter character. Someone who is a hunter. Don't worry, there's also a Wowpedia page that lists the common World of Warcraft hunter NPCs. So all you have to do is name one of them. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Matt? You've known me for a while, so you probably know who I'm going to pick. I picked Sylvanas Windrunner.
Oh, yeah.
Jaren,
Matt, who did you pick?
I could only think of one hunter, which is Rexar.
A classic.
Classic.
Rakush, who did you pick off the website?
I'm going to go with the one, the only, Gabriel Baby. I don't know who that is, but just Baby sounded like baby, so
Yes.
I went with that one.
Okay, number 4. Name a demon slayer. Demon slayers are like hunters. So, name a demon slayer. Take that for what you will. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Friends, I went with the Doom guy.
Oh.
I mean, am I wrong, Matt? Am I
I mean,
wrong?
you're not wrong. I just assumed we were in an anime corner here, so I picked you.
Fair. Rakush, who's your demon slayer of choice?
I actually don't know enough about Demon Slayer to pick one here. Shit. Is Hashira a character, or is that like a group of people?
That's a title.
Okay.
I mean, you already know Jared's answer, so I think it's like way too late.
So I guess Rakush doesn't match me out of a technicality.
Yeah,
he
you
just
know
doesn't
what?
have an
Yes,
answer,
yes, I
so
do.
he loses.
Yeah, I lost that one.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So Rakush, it's okay, Rakush. Maybe you'll have an answer for this one. All right. Sorry. So for my final question, Rakush, remember how in the beginning I asked you, or I thanked you for joining us despite there being WWE programming at the moment?
Okay.
So, Rakush, what is another alias of Triple H?
What?
Rakush?
Oh my god. Okay, you want me to answer this one?
This isn't a don't match. So my don't match me challenge for number 5 is this: Triple H, also known as Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Friends,
Yes.
I want you to name a WWF game that Hunter Hearst Helmsley has appeared in. He's appeared in a lot of WWE games, but he's also appeared in WWF games before they turned into the WWE.
So it has to be WWF.
Yes, WWF. So name a WWF game that Hunter Hearst Helmsley has appeared in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Friends, I went with his first video game appearance in WWF In Your House.
Fuck.
Okay. All right. I think I win this one then, or at least I win it with you. No Mercy.
Fair. Matt, were you gotten by the Google result too?
Did the Google look that because this is way outside my wheelhouse of knowledge, so I had to Google this one, and I thought that was the funniest name, and it got me.
It's okay. And that, friends, is my Don't Match Me Hunter challenge for the week. Congratulations if you got through that. And thank you to Matt for editing around this train wreck of a segment. But
If only I'd watched Demon Slayer.
I literally said Doom Guy, but that has been another beefy episode of The Mistake Zone this week. As always, I want to thank Matt Alba for joining me this week, editing this podcast, and also putting up with our shenanigans.
Yo, thanks, Jaren. As always, I want to thank you for hosting the show and, bringing us some legally distinct Jackie Chan. And, I want to throw some thanks to Rakush for bringing us some legally actual Yakuza Like a Dragon. Or is it the other way? Like a Dragon Yakuza. I don't know which way that title actually goes.
Ryuga Gotoku. Come on, bro.
Something like that.
Sorry, I've been skipping my Duolingo lesson.
Fair enough, Matt. Fair enough. As always, I want to thank Turbo Granny. I want to thank Monsters. I want to thank those cats that follow you in Monster Hunter. And I want to thank, guys, I want to thank Milkshakes. Even though they gave me a tummy ache last week, I've been thinking about them a lot, and I still like me a good milkshake.
You're back on?
Not yet, but maybe when the Shamrock Shake comes around in several months. But, Matt, until then, please take it away.
This has been the Mistake Zone, and we're all out of ranked language learning.